Serious Redditors who recovered from COVID-19. How are you now? What was it like? My partner, myself, and our child were among the first in our county to get it. My partner works in healthcare, so it was only a matter of time. She got the dry cough, fever, and aching joints. My daughter got the fever and cough but otherwise seemed rather unaffected. She's 16 months. As for myself, I had a persistent dry cough, fever, aching joints, general fatigue, shortness of breath, and loss of taste and smell. The virus laid us out for about 3 weeks. It has been a couple months now since recovery and my smell has not fully returned. But other than that, we are all doing just fine. 2 things jump out at me from this thread. It's horrifying how the symptoms vary so much from person to person. It's clear that COVID was around in Western countries earlier than March. I got it from my niece from babysitting. She's almost a year tested positive for antibodies after because testing wasn't around in late February. She had a fever and was a pain for 3 weeks, but I was out of commission for 10 or so days. Sitting in the shower so I could breath twice a day with hot water. I had my sister check up on me because I was worried at one point. I said at the time it was the worst flu I have ever had. X10. 38 and construction worker that works out and eats right. It was scary. Pretty mild for me. Lungs felt like a bag of bricks in my chest. Mild fever, cough, waves of nausea, loss of sense of taste, electric-like pains. Okay, now. Lungs felt like a bag of bricks. Mild. Are you an Alaskan frontiersman from 1820? Lol, I mean, personally the flu felt a million times worse. I had it in mid-March. New York resident, and am fine now. First 3 days, Friday to Sunday, I had extremely mild symptoms. My throat just didn't seem quite right. I was sneezing due to the window's breeze more easily than I should have, since it was too early for allergy season. I also inhaled the water I was drinking multiple times over the weekend. I noticed, but thought I was being paranoid. Day 4, Monday. They sent everyone home to work from home at around noon. I waited in a crowded grocery line, since this was the day they started limiting how many people could enter. Around 3 hours later, it had clearly spread to my lungs from the upper respiratory tract. I could feel the fluid in my lungs. My breathing wasn't steady. Felt like sandpaper rubbing on sandpaper. And it was clear I was sick. I started coughing up sputum on day 5. Tuesday, I'd cough once, clear the fluid from my lungs and breath normally. And then it'd slowly get worse over the course of an hour until I coughed again. Repeat. Day 6, Wednesday. Fever. This was the first day I actually felt sick. You know, normal fever symptoms. Fever, muscle aches, sweating, etc. I called out sick. Remember working from home at this point anyways. Day 8, Friday, was feeling better. Halfway between better and sick. I resumed working. Day 9, Saturday, woke up to the smell of my pillow, and was promptly weirded out. I didn't notice when my small taste disappeared, but I definitely noticed it came back. Everything from my pillow, my shirt, the wooden table, etc. smelt. It wouldn't be for another week or 2 before the loss of sense of smell, taste symptom was discovered, so I had no idea what was going on at the time. Anyways, at this point I felt better again. Day 10 plus. A bit of coughing persisted for a couple days after that, but I felt healthy again. I never even came close to needing to be hospitalized, though, so lucky me. I had it really early. Got it from a ski resort. Back then, we didn't know about it like we do now. I had just had the flu. Was okay for 3 days, then I fucking got the flu. COVID. Again. Could not believe it. In my mind, when the flu is over, you're safe for a while. I was down with the sickness. For about 4 weeks. Trouble breathing and such. But in the end, sure, I had a bad cough and a lot of fever. But I'm alright. First, I am in my early 30s. Otherwise healthy. and prior to getting sick exercised regularly. It has been 6 weeks since I got sick and I still wouldn't say I'm fully recovered. I got a mild cough. I thought it was probably nothing, but decided to skip going to the grocery store just in case. 3 days later had a low fever. On day 4 I woke up and my morning coffee just tasted bitter. I regained my sense of smell a few days later, but my breathing got worse over a couple weeks. I never had a high fever, but my temperature was about 99.9 to 101 F for 5 weeks. I called my doctor the first day with a fever and she recommended a COVID test. But testing was still limited in my state and I couldn't get tested. 2 weeks later I got tested but it was negative, which is common with delayed testing. I ran a fever for 5 weeks total. I am finally 3 days fever-free, but my breathing is still not entirely normal and I feel incredibly weak and tired all the time. I am currently waiting for the results of antibody testing. Dude, your coffee tasting bitter just made something click. A few months back, suddenly for a couple days everything tasted like shit. Even cigarettes. Couldn't stand them. They tasted bitter. And nothing. Not a 40-minute drive. Not literally getting frostbite. Nothing would make me give up a smoke. But I went 2 days barely smoking. That, along with COVID looming overhead, actually sparked me to quit soon after. I thought it was just stress. I wasn't hungry. Was cold all the time. But that started a couple weeks prior during another mystery illness. But what if? I don't particularly remember smelling anything. Or not. IDK. Congrats on quitting. I was a genuine asymptomatic case. I had to get tested due to travel. I had no symptoms whatsoever. Not even a slight fever or ache pain anywhere. No cough. I felt like I was my regular self. Then the result came back as positive. Nasal swab test. Which ironically were the most painful experiences throughout the ordeal. I panicked hard for at least 5 hours. That truly took a toll on my mental health, but yet no physical symptoms at all. 14 days in complete self-isolation. Body temperature monitored every 2 hours. Always within the normal resting range. Blood pressure normal. No body pain or no sign of cough. Then 14 days later had the test done again and I was negative. COVID-19 free. If it wasn't for the first test, I would have never even imagined in my wildest dreams that I was COVID-19 positive. The only thing I must say is I was pretty tired and exhausted mentally. I kept reading, hearing that symptoms might appear in a few days as this could be the incubation period and whatnot. I am still as fine and healthy as I ever was. I just have one advice to any COVID-19 patient out there. I know it may not be easy and you must be hearing this from almost everyone. But please try and stay calm. Relax. Have a positive attitude and don't let the positive result get to your head. Have a strong willpower and keep telling yourself that you are a strong individual who can fight this off just like you fought off common cold many times in your life. Stay safe, stay alive and stay happy. My well wishes, love to all of you. So glad you are okay and it was easy on you. Just curious and weird question. Do you know your blood type? I read an online article a couple of nights ago where it talked about research into COVID plus patients and blood type. I believe it reported that those with type O were X% more inclined to be asymptomatic. Forgive me, it was 3 to 4 a.m. and I didn't make it through the whole thing, but if I locate it I will post link. No worries at all. I am B+. Please do share the link if you managed to find it. Would be an interesting read. Thank you. I believe I had it. It wasn't confirmed. It started small. A fever. Sore throat. Then it escalated. I coughed up chunks of blood. It felt like I had broken glass in my throat. My boyfriend and I lost our voices at the same time and had some difficulty communicating sometimes. My boyfriend's cat coughed up a bloody chunk and died. The only explanation we have is that COVID can affect cats. Throat problems are often associated with ear infections. Well, I got an ear infection in both ears. My ears throbbed so bad it made me cry every 2 minutes or so. I had someone drive me to the emergency in the middle of the night. While I was there, they tested me for the flu and strep. Both were negative, so they said, "You likely have a virus," and sent me on my way with pain meds. I was out of work for 4.5 weeks. Had a slight cough afterwards, and then got strep throat and was out a week and a half. I couldn't get rid of my garbage. People didn't want my germs and it filled my apartment. People would drop things off, like groceries, outside my apartment. It was rough, but I didn't die and the break from work was nice. This was kind of early on and my doctor ordered me a test with the hospital called an Ask Me. Questions like, how old are you? Do you have asthma? Have you coughed up more than 2 tablespoons worth of blood? They told me I wasn't high risk, so they wouldn't test me. It affected my boyfriend and I differently. I coughed far less than him but coughed up blood and he didn't. I had a high fever and he didn't. I had longer headaches and was sick longer. I had diarrhea a few times. Not sure if this was the virus or I was the unlucky 4% poorly affected by my medication. Holy shit about the cat. Damn. She was very old, so he had come to terms with the fact that she may be near the end, but didn't show any signs of health issues, let alone anything to explain the bloody chunk. It was also very difficult for him not being able to take her to the vet to put her down. They wouldn't allow us to even drop her off because we were sick, so my mom took her and she died on the way. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.